Hello everyone, myself Dr. Sayyid Abrar. Today we will see the demonstration of the humerus bone under the different headings starting from general features, site determination, attachments, ossification, and lastly is the applied anatomy. In general features, this is the humerus, this is the long bone, bone of the arm, longest bone of the upper limb. It has upper end, lower end and the shaft. This is the upper end. Upper end has a head. This one is the head. Head is rounded that articulates with the glenoid cavity of the scapula to form the shoulder joint. Head forms 1/3 of the sphere, which is much larger than the glenoid cavity. The line, this one is the line that separates the head from rest of the upper end, is known as anatomical neck. This is the anatomical neck. This is the small elevation on the anterior aspect of the upper end. This is known as lesser tubercle. This another lateral elevation is the greater tubercle, which has 3 impression on its dorsal aspect: upper one, middle and the lowermost. This is the bicipital groove that separates lesser tubercle from anterior part of the greater tubercle. This is the medial lip of the bicipital groove. This one is the lateral lip of the bicipital groove. These are the prolongations from the lesser and the greater tubercle. Narrow line separating the upper end from shaft is the surgical neck. Here is the surgical neck of the humerus. This is the shaft. Shaft has 3 borders, 3 surfaces. This one is the anterior border. This is the lateral border. This one is the medial border. Anterior border starts from lower part of the greater tubercle. In the middle, it is interrupted by the anterior margin of the V-shaped deltoid tuberosity. This is the V-shaped deltoid tuberosity. In the lower part, it is rounded and smooth. This one is the lateral border, which is sharp in the lower part and forms the lateral supracondylar ridge. In the middle part, it is interrupted by the radial or the spiral groove. In the upper part, it is barely traceable. This one is the middle border, medial border. Medial border starts from lower part of the lesser tubercle. Its upper 1/3 part forms the medial lip of the bicipital groove. This in the middle part, it has a sharp crest like. In the lower part continues as a medial supracondylar ridge. Then the surfaces. Anterolateral surface between anterior border and the lateral border. Upper half of the anterolateral surface is covered by the deltoid muscle. Middle part is interrupted by the radial or spiral groove. Anteromedial surface. Upper 1/3 of anteromedial surface is narrow, which forms the floor of the bicipital groove or intertubercular sulcus. In the middle part, it has the nutrient foramen near its medial border. Then the posterior surface. This one is the posterior surface between medial border and the lateral border. Upper part of this surface has an oblique line above the radial groove. In the middle, there is a radial groove or spiral groove. Upper part of the shaft is rounded, lower part is triangular. Then the lower end, this one is the lower end. It has articular part and non-articular part. Articular part includes capitulum. This rounded one is the capitulum. This pulley shape is the trochlea. Then this capitulum articulates with the head of the radius like this. And this trochlea articulates with the trochlear notch of the ulna. This is the trochlear notch of the ulna. This is the olecranon process. This one is the coronoid process. This trochlea articulates with the trochlear notch of the ulna like this. Non-articular part includes medial epicondyle. This one is the larger elevation on the medial aspect of the elbow, which is subcutaneous, easily felt on the medial aspect of the elbow. This smaller is the lateral epicondyle on the anterior aspect of the lateral side. Just above the capitulum, this is the radial fossa. Just above the trochlea, there is a coronoid fossa. This radial fossa or depression accommodates head of the radius when the elbow is flexed like this. This radial fossa accommodates head of the radius, and this coronoid fossa accommodates coronoid process. This is the coronoid process like this. It accommodates coronoid process when the elbow is flexed. Posteriorly, just above the trochlea, there is a large depression or fossa known as olecranon fossa, which accommodates olecranon process. This is the olecranon process like this. It accommodates olecranon process when the elbow is extended. Site determination, site to which humerus belongs, is determined by the following features. Upper end forms the rounded head, lower end is expanded from side to side, flattened from before backward. This head is directed medially upward and backward. On the anterior aspect, there is a conical elevation known as lesser tubercle, which is separated from the greater tubercle by the intertubercular sulcus. So this bone belongs to right side. Attachments. On lesser tubercle, there is an insertion of multipinnate subscapularis muscle. On the posterior aspect of the greater tubercle, there are insertion of three muscles. On the uppermost impression, there is an insertion of supraspinatus muscle. On the middle impression, there is an insertion of infraspinatus. On the lowermost impression, there is an insertion of the teres minor muscle. Mnemonic is a sit, S-I-T. This subscapularis and these sit muscles form the musculotendinous cuff or rotator cuff of the shoulder joint. Attachment on the bicipital groove or intertubercular sulcus, remembered by the mnemonic, lady between two major. The two major are pectoralis major on the inserted on the lateral lip of the bicipital groove, teres major inserted on the medial lip of the bicipital groove. Floor, on the floor there is insertion of the latissimus dorsi. Examiner may ask you, what are the contents of the bicipital groove? The contents of the bicipital groove are the long head of the bicep brachii with its synovial sheath and ascending branch of anterior circumflex humeral artery. This deltoid tuberosity gives insertion to the deltoid muscle. Medial strip on the medial border gives insertion to the coracobrachialis. Lower half of anteromedial surface and anterolateral surface gives origin to brachialis muscle. Then upper 2/3 of lateral supracondylar ridge gives origin to brachioradialis. Lower 1/3 of lateral supracondylar ridge gives origin to extensor carpi radialis longus. This medial epicondyle on the anterior aspect gives origin to superficial flexor muscles of the forearm. These muscles arise from a common point that is known as common flexor origin. Lateral epicondyle gives origin to superficial extensor muscles of the forearm. This is known as common extensor origin. On the dorsal aspect of the lateral epicondyle, there is the origin of the anconeus muscle. On the posterior surface, upper part of the posterior surface on the oblique line gives origin to lateral head of the tricep above the radial groove. Area of the posterior surface below the radial groove gives origin to medial head of the tricep brachii. Then the three nerves are directly related to the humerus. On the dorsal aspect, injury to these nerves may lead to different complications. Axillary nerve is related at the cervical neck. Radial nerve is related to the radial groove. Just behind the medial epicondyle, there is a ulnar nerve. This anatomical neck gives attachment to the capsule of the shoulder joint. This lower end gives attachment to capsule of the elbow joint. This upper limit of the radial fossa, then olecranon fossa anteriorly and posteriorly, upper margin of the olecranon fossa gives attachment to the ligament of the elbow joint, so that these fossa are within the joint cavity. Ossification. Humerus ossifies from one primary center which appears at the shaft at 8th week of intrauterine life. Upper end ossifies from three centers, one for head which appears during 1 year, one for greater tubercle during 2nd year, one for lesser tubercle during 5th year. All these fuses with each other at the age of 6th year and form one epiphysis which fuses with the shaft at 20 years. Lower end ossifies from 4 centers which form 2 epiphyses, one for capitulum and lateral flange of the trochlea, one for which appears during 1 year, one for medial flange of the trochlea which appears during 9 year, one for lateral epicondyle which appears during 12 year. All these fuses with each other at the age of 14 year and form one epiphysis, fuses with the shaft at the age of 16 year. Medial epicondyle ossifies from separate center and form one epiphysis which appears during 4 to 6 year, fuses with the shaft at 20 years. Lastly is the applied anatomy. This humerus commonly fractured at cervical neck, shaft and supracondylar region. These supracondylar fractures are commonly occurred in the young age because of fall on the outstretched hand, in which the lower segment is displaced posteriorly, so that the elbow become underly prominent, as in dislocations. It may cause injury to the median nerve and may lead to Volkmann's ischemic contracture caused by the occlusion of the brachial artery. This junction of upper 1/3 and middle 1/3 has poor blood supply. So fracture at this site may goes in non-union or malunion. Lastly, this head of the humerus dislocates from the capsule of the shoulder joint inferiorly. Thank you. Thanks for watching.